When the disco gets you, and you just have to boogie. Well, good morning. Welcome to the part of the Causeway Coast. 4:25 in the morning. Full moon. Yeah, stone chap. And I'm making my way along to a part of the Causeway Coast that overlooks the Port Moon Bothy. Now, I've shot here before a few times, but I thought, you know what? I haven't been out on a dawn bimble for a while. There was a pretty wet weather system that moved through yesterday afternoon, and as is quite often the case, after a weather system has moved through, it can sometimes leave behind some interest in the sky, some nice clouds, and certainly there's a little bit you can see over there. So yeah, the problem being this morning is right on the horizon, huge bank of clouds. So are we going to get any light? Probably not. But it's so wonderful to be back out this time in the morning. You know, summertime is bemoaned by landscape photographers the world over, and for good reason, I guess. You know, we do have some of the harshest light during the day, and of course sunrise is stupid o'clock in the morning. But the benefit of that is 9 times out of 10 you get locations completely to yourself. And I mean, let me just turn you around and show you just little sort of snippets of what I'm looking at. I mean, isn't that just beautiful? Just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. Now, what's quite funny, I left my house at 4 a.m. Sunrise is 10 to 5. It's about a 15-minute drive or so to the car park, so plenty of time. But then you see, this time of the morning on Radio 2, they quite often, especially on a Friday, get some disco funk on the go. And I was so busy getting my disco down that I just completely drove on past where I was supposed to be. And I mean like 4 or 5 miles on past, while I was pulling some shapes. When disco's going down, you kind of lose all focus. Oh, this is just beautiful, just gorgeous. So, arrived up to the spot where Port Moon Bothy is. You can just about see it right there. And as I thought, let's just turn you around. Let's get rid of you can see this kind of bank of clouds, so probably not going to get a lot of light. But then I was okay with this. And again, this is, I think I've said this numerous times before, even field, I'm not saying this morning's going to be a field shoot, but even when the conditions don't kind of strike straight away, you're still going to be gaining stuff by coming out here. So I'm just kind of at the moment, because of the fact that it doesn't look like that sun is going to break through anytime soon, maybe 10-15 minutes time, but anytime soon, I can kind of relax a little bit and just look at some different compositions or fine tune my existing composition. At the moment, because there's some nice colour going on in the sky, it's difficult to see that. I'm actually pointing out this way just to see whether I can capture any of that colour in the sky, because at the moment, because of that bank of cloud, there's no real colour over here, plus the fact that there's no oh wow. So what I've just spotted, let me just show you this. So can you spot a little bit of early morning mist and fog kind of rolling down off the hills. That's pretty nice. So what I might do is, I've got the 18-135 on at the moment. I might zoom in a little bit on that and see whether that's something that we can actually capture. Let's take a look at that. You say good morning to a horse, and the horse passes wind in your general direction. I guess that's what horses do. So I've turned myself back round now, facing the Bothy. There is a chance that that sun is going to break through the clouds. I'm hoping that it'll still be relatively soft light. It's always difficult to tell, but I've kind of set myself up with the composition that I'm looking for. Just swing you around. So basically, kind of got both. One of the things I find quite difficult about shooting up here is I quite like just this kind of rock here, but if you remove this rock, then you end up really squeezing the Bothy, especially from this position, squeezing the Bothy quite close to the left hand side of the frame, and I'm not sure it works. And if you kind of just angle it into where the Bothy's sitting on a nice position in the top of the frame, you get a tiny little bit of this. Now, of course, there's a couple of, as you can see, well-worn positions of tourists and photographers. And of course, you can make your way kind of on round. And in fact, if you're really brave, you can make your way down as well. So basically, what I'm hoping is that once the sun breaks through, if it is going to be sort of, especially if it breaks through that top bit first of all, we might get some nice diffused light. And what I'm looking for is this to be lit up, and of course this to be lit up as well. Now obviously what's going to happen is this area here is going to be in shadow, at least initially, because of this. So that's why I don't want to include too much of this. So we're working on a composition. Obviously our Bothy is going to be one of our main focus points. It's actually quite interesting as well. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see because of the heavy rain that we've had, a little waterfall has developed here, which is quite nice. So yeah, so now we just wait and see whether the light's going to appear. Still no sun. Might come. I've actually moved myself along about 10 metres, and I've actually zoomed in a little bit as well, so I'm now at about 40 mil. So what I'm doing is let's just move you in there. So as you can see, kind of trying to balance out this initial sort of jagged cliff face, which hopefully will get some of that morning light, and obviously the main cliff face with the Bothy in below it. Again, I would love to have the Bothy a little bit further in, maybe another half a centimetre further into the right. But to do that, I would then include some of this cliff face, which, as I said before, is probably going to be in shadow once the sun rises. So I think I'm going to stick with this for now. Now, I've been toying with the idea of sticking a 10 stop on there as well. There's a little bit of movement in the water, so that's what I'll probably end up doing. And as you can see, because there's not a huge amount of interest in the sky at the moment, I've actually brought my composition down. Now, what I haven't done is brought it down too far. If I was to bring it down to kind of here, then it just would feel a little bit constrained, a little bit crushed. So I've kind of left just a little bit of sky here, and there is a little bit of cloud there on that horizon, so this won't be sort of pure sort of clear sky. So now all we need is the pesky sun. So I think we're on. That sun is just breaking that lower, you can't really see it, but that's just breaking that lower bank of clouds, and then there's a lighter layer of clouds which will keep it nice and diffused. So even though we're now sort of half an hour, 40 minutes, well, half an hour so after sunrise, hopefully when the light hits these rocks down here, it's still going to be sort of reasonably soft. Not as soft as it would have been if there hadn't been any of that cloud cover, but we'll work with what we're given. So still in the same composition. Currently have the 10 stop removed, so I can play around a little bit with the exposures. Now what I would have loved is those kind of wispy clouds kind of over the Bothy, but I don't think that's going to happen. So fingers crossed, the next 2-3 minutes we're going to start seeing some nice diffused light on these cliffs. That's the hope anyway. So as you can see, that sun has indeed risen, and it is now casting that gorgeous side lighting on this front rock and on the rock, so on the cliff face behind the Bothy. And as I thought, just a little bit of shadow in here. Now this cliff face is obviously taking on some gorgeous light as well. So the compositions that I've been working with have been trying to sort of either include a lot of this, which of course means you do get a little bit of shadow, but it's mostly in light, or completely removing this and kind of focusing on this area here. But yeah, just gorgeous. The whole place is now bathed in just beautiful, beautiful early morning light. Gorgeous. So with the sun continuing to... I'm talking here. With the sun continuing to rise, obviously getting slightly more harsher. Still not too bad, but I'm now just sort of looking at other compositions that might work at a later date. So when the sun sort of rises like that, I don't just pack up and go home. Carry on shooting, and of course it's still a gorgeous morning, so even if I don't take another single image, this is beautiful. So yeah, I'm just going to wander on round, a little bit on round the coast, and just play about with some sort of additional compositions. Let's see what we can find. So just before I head off, I just wanted to sort of do one last thing. I was just setting up another composition here. Again, just say the sun is quite harsh now, so again just working on compositions, but I kind of was playing around with the Format High-Tech 10 stop. Now, despite the Firecrest glass being very, one of the most neutral ND filters out there, you might still sometimes get, especially in conditions, I actually find when it is sort of bright sunshine, you can sometimes get a colour cast. So I fired off a shot with white balance sets auto. Now, obviously people will say, well, I shoot in RAW so I can play with the white balance afterwards, and that's absolutely true. But I always like to try to replicate the conditions in camera, just so when I get back to the office and I'm doing the post-processing side of things, I get reminded of how the conditions were. I really don't want a huge, if there is going to be a huge colour shift in there. So I actually I'd flicked over to JPEG mode just because I'm kind of playing around now with compositions. And of course the white balance was just a little bit cool whenever I put the Firecrest on. So what I did was I actually put a little bit of warmth into that white balance, a little bit of yellow, little bit of red, and that actually brought me closer to what the scene actually looks like. So even if you are shooting with RAW and you're sort of quite used to using auto white balance, sometimes kind of play around with that, do a little bit of a white balance shift, just to make sure that the image that you're taking is reasonably similar to the scene in front of you. As I say, that's pretty much me done for the morning. Well, I wouldn't say done for the morning, done for this vlog. I'm going to stay out. It's only about 6 a.m. now, so I'm going to sort of carry on wandering around. I've got a little snack in the pocket, so go off and grab something to eat. Hope you've enjoyed this. It's a beautiful part of the Causeway Coast and doesn't get a lot of footfall either. Might start exploring up here a little bit more over the next couple of months, so watch out for those videos. As always, hope you enjoyed this one, and if you have any comments, leave them below. I do try to reply to every single comment. But now from Port Moon Bothy, and you can just about make it out right there, on a beautiful, beautiful June morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.